As a leader, are you carrying decisions, carrying your team, carrying the worry home at night, and wondering why leadership feels so relentlessly heavy? What if I told you there's one shift, a quality that could genuinely change that? It's not a new system, it's not another strategy, not a course to sign up to, just a different way of showing up. A way of showing up that actually takes the weight off you rather than adding to it. Most leaders have never been taught this. And some actively avoid it because they've been told it makes them look weak. But research and some of the world's greatest leadership thinkers say the opposite is true. It's called humility. And before you scroll on, stay with me because this isn't what you think it is. Can I ask you something honestly? When you hear the word humble in the context of leadership, what comes to your mind? Do you think quiet, passive, someone who just keeps their head down and doesn't make a fuss? If that's what you thought, and most people do, then this video could genuinely change the way you lead. Recently, John Maxwell taught me something that completely reframed what humility actually is. And I think every head teacher, every deputy, every nursery manager or owner needs to hear this. Any leader. Humility might just be the most powerful thing in your leadership toolkit. And you've probably been told it's the opposite. In education, we have a bit of a culture problem around this, I think. Leaders are expected to be confident, decisive, strong. And rightly so. Your staff and your children need that from you. Your families need that. But somewhere along the way, strong got confused with having all the answers. Decisive, it turned into never admitting you got it wrong. And being seen as vulnerable became something to avoid at all costs. So we push through as leaders, don't we? Leaders perform certainty. They perform certainty they don't feel. They carry everything. They don't ask for help. And then they burnt out. I know. Happened to me. But here's what John Maxwell says, and it stopped me in my tracks. He said humility isn't weakness. It's not quietness. It isn't compliance. But in fact, it's the thing that makes you strong enough to lead for the long haul. He draws on a brilliant distinction. He says that pride is concerned with who's right, and humility is concerned with what's right. Think about that again. Pride, who's right, humility, what's right. So, what does that look like in a staff meeting? A proud leader doubles down on a decision because admitting it isn't working would feel like failure. Whereas a humble leader says, actually, maybe I've been looking at this wrong. What do you think? Suddenly, the whole room shifts, doesn't it? People lean in, they feel safe to contribute, they feel seen. Alan Ross puts this beautifully. A humble leader is not weak, but strong, not preoccupied with self, but focused on how best to use their strengths for the good of others. They don't think less of themselves, they simply choose to consider the needs of others first. This isn't passivity, it is extraordinary strength. What about the idea that humble leaders are teachable? They operate with what's sometimes called a beginner's mindset. So as they walk into a room, they're not thinking, I'm the expert here, but they think, what can I learn here? That quality, that openness is actually what keeps leaders growing instead of stagnating. But it also builds your team. Humble leaders are also genuinely appreciative. When things go well, they're quick to shine the spotlight on others. And that thankfulness boosts morale across the whole team. In a school, secondary, primary, nursery, it doesn't matter. This is so enormously important because your team is working incredibly hard, often without enough recognition. But a leader who consistently turns the spotlight outward creates a culture where people feel valued. And people who feel valued give more of themselves. They are the best version of themselves. But here's the thing about education: we're dealing with other people's children. We're responsible for other people's well-being, staff, children, families. And that is a weight that no single leader should carry alone. And yet so many do. The pressure to look like we've got it all together, from Ofsted, governors, parents, can make humility feel like a luxury you can't afford. But I'd argue it's the opposite. Confidence without humility breeds distrust. Staff aren't going to be psychologically safe. You see, your team already knows what you don't know. They see the gaps. And when a leader pretends those gaps don't exist, staff don't feel safe or reassured. If the leader can't be honest, how can anyone else be honest? But a leader who can say, I got that wrong, or perhaps I need your expertise on this, that leader creates a school or a nursery, a setting where it's safe to be human, where staff don't have to perform perfection, where people can flag problems early before they become a crisis. This is the culture that prevents burnout, both for yourself and your staff. So, can I suggest you try this week? In your next team meeting or in your next one-to-one, ask this question and genuinely mean it. What's something I could do differently that would make your job easier? And then, and this is the crucial part, just listen. Don't defend, don't explain, don't immediately problem solve. Just receive it with curiosity and say thank you. That one act communicates more about your character as a leader than any policy document or performance review ever could. Because it says, I value you. I'm not above learning from you. And we're in this together. Humility in action. Very powerful. If you found this useful, please share it with another leader who needs to hear it. I'm Rowena Hicks, and this is all about helping you and your team, not just to survive in education, but genuinely to thrive. See you next time.